In Python, most types are immutable. That means that their values do not change. Okay. That does not mean that they are constant. So C++ and other languages have some things called constants, in which you assign a value to them, as we have done here, for example, and then you cannot change it anymore for all the execution of the code. That's not what immutable means in Python. Immutable means that if you change the value assigned to the variable, you're not changing the memory position, but you're pointing your variable to another memory position. For example, if we had a 5 in our x, and then we do +1, we do whatever is in x +1, then this is evaluated, so a 5 is found, +1 is done, this operation's result is 6, and then we want to assign a value of 6 to variable x. But to do that, instead of coming here and changing this to a 6, because Python variables are immutable and their contents do not change, what we do is that we store a number 6, the result of our operation, somewhere else in memory, and now point our variable here. Okay? And this will likely be taken care of by something called a garbage collector, or maybe we had someone else pointing here and we still need it, whatever. But x forgets about that previous memory position and is now looking at here. In particular, if we have two variables that point at the same position and we change one of them, as we had done before, the initial one is not changed. Okay, so I initialize x to 5, y to whatever the value of x was in that moment, so 5, and when I do x plus 1, x takes a value of x plus 1, then x value moves to 6, changes to 6, but because Python variables are immutable, y value stays at 5. Okay? But that does not happen to lists. Most data types in Python are immutable, but lists are mutable. Okay, so we can change whatever is in them. So in this case, I have initialized one list with 3 elements, -1, 2, 1, 5, and we can see the nice indexing here from 0, 1, 2. And I have initialized L3, as I did with the x and y variables before, to be exactly whatever L2 is containing, okay? To be the same as L2, which in this case means, again, to point to the same memory position, okay? But lists are mutable. So if I change one of the values in list L2 and change this value to now contain a character A or a string A, then L3 is also changed. Because lists are mutable, I don't do what I did before of making a new list with the new values and then pointing L2 there. L2 is still pointing where it was pointing, and because of that, L3 has also been modified. Let's see this in our Jupyter notebooks. Okay, we have the similar explanation here. Okay, and we can print the results. I made another list here called 1, 2, 3 and pointed another list called another list, of course, to my first list. Okay, and when we run the first time, they contain the same thing. We modify just one of them. Okay, we modify the second one, another list, and put an A in position 1. So we will put an A here, and we see when we print one list and another list that it has, both lists have been changed and they have all been mutated. Just to complement this, this is really not the norm in Python. Okay, lists are mutable, but most types are not. In particular, we have already seen a little bit about strings. Strings are in some senses similar to lists because they are like sequences, which was the main characteristic of lists, as we have been seeing, of characters. Okay, so one could think about them as some kind of subset of lists. Well, they are not. And one very practical realization of that is if we try to modify strings. Okay, so I can, as I was doing with integers, I can assign different things to the same string and they will point to different points of memory. Okay, but if I try to change one of the positions of my string, I will get an error. In particular, here we have defined this string, okay, and we can see that we can access different elements. So my string of 2 is 0, 1, 2 is this k, and of -2 is this d here, okay? We can even slice them if we want. Strings are also similar to lists in this sense. You can slice strings, okay? So just I hope you will agree with me that this gives me position 1, 2, and 3 of the string, which are these 3, and I had printed here, okay? But what happens if I try to modify my string? Okay, as you can see, I get an error. This is not a problem of, let's say, the indexing or anything. If I try to modify another index, I will still get the same error. String does not support item assignment, okay? Because strings are immutable, as most data types. They do not support, they do not allow item assignment, okay? But as we have been saying, lists are mutable, so I can do this with lists. I cannot do it with strings.